live. Da-da-da-da. Another week, Katie.
Another week indeed.
Another week of fun and excitement. It's September 11th. Not that one. 2023. And these are your Fortean Files. I realized, I can't remember at what point today I realized it was September 11th. And how much things have changed since then.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
I realized that last night and had that thought too. Because there was a 60-minute special on while I was waiting for Big Brother to come on. And I was thinking
you were
about
waiting
that
for
too.
Big Brother and the Patriot Act. I mean,
And I was just thinking like how different society and life and everything was back then. Doesn't feel like that long ago, but
it changed everything.
Yeah.
It changed everything for us. We accepted so much bullshit straight out the gate based on the idea that our freedoms and our liberties were at risk.
Right.
And then we just threw our liberties and freedoms out the fucking window.
Right. We all were like, yep, take them.
Yeah.
Have them.
Yeah, go for it. We don't need them. God damn it, I'm a patriot.
I don't know. It was a scary time. At least for me, I was in 7th grade when it happened. So, like, from my perspective, things seemed dark, man. Really dark.
I remember everyone had to have an American flag in their car.
Tried to rename them Freedom Fries instead of French fries.
Yeah, because of the whole French bullshit. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think that it changed America for the better. If I'm being honest, I think that it did some pretty. It wound up making some pretty shitty changes across the board. I mean, let's face facts. They implemented torture under the name of the United States because of 9/11.
They implemented a lot of sly shit that a lot of people don't even really realize.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's been a lot of ripple effects.
Surveillance state.
There's so much weird little nuanced things that just kind of slid through in that time. And
yeah, your freedoms are at risk. Oh, God. God damn it. We love putting old white men in charge. We love it, by God.
Emphasis on the old.
Yeah, we love that shit. When are we gonna learn? When is this whole fucking horse shit with, oh, you're being ageist? Fuck you. I want a competent president. How about we cap the age a little fucking lower?
Yeah, he can't even form cohesive sentences. He doesn't make sense to anybody ever, but yet we're all just playing along like he's Mr. President.
Fucking McConnell's out there.
I know. Isn't that so... What is happening, Chris? It's such a weird place we're living in.
You know what? You know what's happening? Somebody rebooted the fucking Matrix, and we're all just like watching it, going, "Huh?"
At this point,
It's a fucking wacky world. It's a wacky world right now. That's all I'm gonna say. Hold on to your seats, kids. That's all I gotta say. I don't think it's gonna get any better before it gets any worse.
at this point, like, I don't even know what's going to happen next. Like, anything is possible at this point.
Yeah.
This train wreck could veer off in any fucking direction, and I wouldn't be surprised by it.
At this point, I look at everything like a roll of the dice. I don't see any type of cohesive narrative thing going forward. It's just a fucking jumbled mess of shit. It's like somebody fucking just threw the spaghetti on the wall.
I think someone did.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think you're wrong.
Messy.
Yeah. Very, very fucking messy. So, yeah, it's been a week. I, as always, have been discombobulated as fuck lately. I didn't really look through the case. I didn't. I apologize, people. My brain has not been with it lately, and we will go over the cases, but I did not go over them myself as in depth as I wanted to before the show. Yeah, it's been one of them weeks. So I haven't found anything back about my colonoscopy yet. About the polyps, as they say. They did have some of those removed, and they send them off to have them tested, find out if they're precancerous. Yeah, good stuff. So I'm waiting on that. And other than that, just getting things back to normal, Katie. Back to normal.
Yeah.
I don't know what normal is.
It's not much of that these days, as
Not
pre-discussed.
sure. I think there was a time that I knew what normal was. I think. Although I question that now. I question if anything in my life has ever been normal. Huh?
Life is a constant evolution, so it's hard to like.
But I wonder now, at this point in my life, looking back on things, I wonder, was anything ever quote unquote normal? Was anything the quintessential normal? You know?
It's hard to define what that is, though. The quintessential normal.
Right. I don't know. But I don't know that I had it. Pretty sure I didn't. Somebody said something to me recently. It was just the other night, as a matter of fact. An old friend of mine said to me, that I was catching up with, said, you never really had any support in your life. And when he said it, it hit me kind of fucking hard.
Yeah.
Like, ooh, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. And somebody else had said something similar to me recently. And it got me to thinking. So that's why I'm on this whole, am I, or did I have the normal?
Right.
Or is there anything that I've ever had that's been, quote unquote, normal?
I don't think many people have, to be fair.
Do you think you've had moments of normality?
Yes.
Okay.
For sure.
I question that.
Not even moments.
Well,
Periods of time.
I think at this point in my life, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But up to a certain point, like, I question it at this point. Like, my childhood and stuff, growing up, and all the things that I, my teenage years and my young adult life. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that normal... And here's the other thing, too. I don't know that normal exists.
Right. That's kind of the way I'm... Everybody has, I think, their own thought of... You could put parameters, I guess, around normal, but really, it's a pretty...
We all just
thing.
want a fucking baseline.
Yes.
You know, but nobody quite gets there. It's like that calculus equation there where you try to find the limit of something as it approaches zero. You never quite get to zero.
Right. I don't know. I feel like I've had it and then I've lost it, and then I've had it and then I've lost it. And...
Right. Like now I have, like, I feel like I have moments of normality now. I really do. Like at this point, I feel like I have some moments of normality, which is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we all want, I think.
Let's get into our news of the evening, Katie. I did grab some fucking news stories. Let's start out with... We've been following this story, Katie, from comicbook.com. I mean, we haven't been following it on this site, but we've been following the story. Largest Loch Ness Monster search ever yields little results.
Oh, surprise, surprise.
In the waning days of August, Scotland's Loch Ness Centre held its largest search for the Loch Ness Monster in over 50 years, despite using the latest technologies, some never used in the search for the fabled creature before. Little to no evidence of the cryptid's existence was captured. Though Loch Ness Centre officials intend to release a full report later this month, initial findings posted to the organization's blog include just a few grainy photos taken... goddamn webpage. Taken from what appear to local security cameras. No definitive proof is available in any of the images released in the initial report. The group used a hydrophone for the first team while searching for Nessie and claims to have heard 4 strange noises before the expedition officially kicked off on the weekend of August 26. Unfortunately for believers seeking proof, they forgot to record the encounter. We did that story last week. Alan McKenna embarked on a deep scan cruise just a day before the quest weekend kicked off. And eager to ensure the hydrophone's functionality, alongside the boat's intrigued guests, they initiated tests to confirm the equipment's reliability. The center explained on its blog post, 4 mysterious and previously unheard loud noises from the depths of the loch were identified. Regrettably, amidst the excitement, the crucial moment wasn't captured on record. Nevertheless, all the guests on board heard the noises. Oh, well, they heard them. Great. Yeah, it goes on a little bit more, but yeah, yielded no results, Katie. No results.
I don't think any of us really expected any in 2 days.
No results on the Nessie front. We get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir. On to our next story of the evening, Katie. And this actually answers another question we had, Katie. From WSMV.com. Blinking lights in Tennessee sky catch your eye? They're not UFOs. Those looking up the black, clear sky in Middle Tennessee on Saturday might have seen something unusual. A string of stars seemingly travels through the night sky, and then poof, they disappear. I've never seen anything like that before, Scotty Morton said in a video submitted to WSMV4. That string of stars isn't UFOs, aliens, or anything to worry about at all. They are a group of smaller satellites grouped together in orbit to form Starlink. a product of SpaceX aimed at providing low-cost internet to those in rural areas with connectivity problems. Starlink is the world's first and largest satellite constellation using a low Earth orbit to deliver broadband internet, capable of supporting streaming, online gaming, video calls, and more, SpaceX said on its website. So, it actually answered the question of what was coming out of the volcano.
Yes.
In that video. I don't know if you caught Phil's video.
I did.
But, yes, it was Starlink.
And that makes total sense. And I was really happy to see Phil do that. I was like, yes.
That's because I sent it to him.
Well, good.
I actually caught him. I went on a tear over the weekend for some fucking reason. YouTube kept popping up fucking Phil polling videos for me.
Huh.
So I had like the Barcatino thermal footage. I had the Grays Harbor thermal footage. There was another fucking Bigfoot video that had popped up. You know, and I just was watching through these really in-depth old thermal breakdown videos. They were interesting.
Yeah. They are.
To rehash, I mean.
Yeah.
It was interesting to go back over it and look at it with fresh eyes now. I still have questions about the Sierra site, the Justin Smeha kills site, where Barcatino took his footage. I still have some questions and some concerns, but it's interesting stuff. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
It's interesting stuff. You know, I wonder. I don't know. I'll have to sit down and talk to Phil about it. I don't know where he stands on it nowadays. I don't know where he sits on that whole situation.
He probably hasn't thought about it in a while either.
Probably not. Our next story of the evening, Katie, from PressRepublican.com. Champ hunt coming to Lake Champlain next spring for 2 days.
I was just going to say, are they doing better than 2 days?
I don't know. Port Henry. Champ film producer Richard Rossi and a team of scientific researchers are headed for Port Henry next summer to mount an intensive hunt for the legendary lake creature. Rossi is co-author with Kelly Tabor of Lucy and the Lake Monster, a best-selling children's novel and film adaptation, and they recently revealed that the book's success is supporting a search for the story's fabled cryptid in Lake Champlain. Some of the scientists coming to Lake Champlain have worked on the search for Nessie in Loch Ness, Scotland, Rossi told Press Republican. We are working on a full list of those participating, but we are still waiting on some RSVPs, he said. Some in Scotland and the UK are working on getting passports, meeting with embassies, and so on. The qualification of champ searchers tends to be their passion, dedication, and enthusiasm. Steve Feltham, who heads up the Nessie search group, is also on the list of those invited, along with group member Dot McKenzie. It's a wonderful connection between Champ and Nessie, between New York and the Highlands, McKenzie said by email. She reciprocally invited Rossi and Tabor to Scotland to screen the Lucy and the Lake Monster film there when it's done. Rossi produced and directed the film version of the book, which filmed in Port Henry in 2022 and is slated for early 2024 release. Yeah. It goes on to just talk about children's books and... Anyway, they're going to search for Champ in Lake Champlain. Doesn't say how many days. I hope it's for more than 2.
Let's hope at least 3. Set the bar nice and low. Although
give me something.
This one's at least in America. You can get some hillbillies out there on the lake willing to look.
America. You think we can do better?
Oh yeah.
No. I lost all faith in America.
I'm still trying to hold on, Chris.
You can hold on all you want. You can hold on all you want. America is bound to be those fucking fat asses in fucking Wall-E.
I know, dude. I say that all the time. Like, that is so alarmingly accurate.
Yep. That's where it's headed. It's where it's headed. I'm sorry.
Yep.
I'm sorry. We've created it.
Yep.
So, our next story of the evening, Katie. Let's see. From 973 The Dog, DAWG.com. Louisiana campers share pictures of Bigfoot at KOA in Scott. If you happen to be in the KOA area in Scott this past weekend or took a look at social media, you may have noticed a strange Bigfoot creature lurking around the campgrounds. Here's what was going on. Recently, there have been a few viral stories out of Louisiana and Mississippi about Bigfoot. A few months ago, a central Louisiana Sasquatch researcher told the Alexandria Town Talk that there are indeed Sasquatch in the Kissatachi Forest and claims he has communicated with them telepathically. The man claims there are Sasquatches among us. It's a matter of paying attention. Then, only a few weeks ago, a video resurfaced of a supposed Bigfoot that is being heralded as the best footage ever recorded. You and I went over that, Katie. That's the the Mississippi footage there.
It was not the best ever, but...
Correct. This past weekend, you may have come across photos from campers at the KOA in Scott, Louisiana, of what appeared to be something resembling Bigfoot. However, Katie, I will go back to the Mississippi Bigfoot video. In talking with Phil Poling, he said he may have been too quick to judge on that video. The
Why
Mississippi. He didn't say. All he said was he may have been too quick to judge. That's all I'm saying. I don't know if we'll see a follow-up video from Mr. Poling. That's all I'm saying. From a distance, some campers grew concerned when they noticed what looked like a Bigfoot lurking at the KOA in Scott, Louisiana. However, upon further inspection, what was spotted at the KOA in Scott this past weekend was very different from the Bigfoot stories we mentioned earlier in this story. What people spotted and shared pictures of was actually Fred. A Lafayette couple who are avid campers brought Fred along with them for a weekend camping trip at the KOA in Scott. In fact, the couple always bring Fred along with them on their camping journeys, and Fred always gets people's attention everywhere they go. Would you like to see Fred, Katie?
Yes, I do.
You want to see Fred? You know you do.
I do.
I mean,
it sounds like something my dad would do.
He's a swell fella.
Yeah. Oh, that's. I have a Fred. I can say it right out here. But I don't take it on camping trips.
Yeah, I wouldn't take that on camping trips.
Yeah, I got it leaning out against my tree, facing the lake.
Yeah, there's Fred. Good old Fred. He's up there. There's Fred.
Yeah.
It looks a little more conspicuous there. That looks pretty good right there. Looks
so
pretty
funny.
good right there. Anyhow, good old Fred.
Tagging that along out on a camping trip is a classic dad move, for sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I like it.
Our last story of the evening, Katie, from the dailystar.co.uk. Gorilla-like figure might be Bigfoot pictured watching people in canyon. A man reckons he's photographed Bigfoot watching people in a canyon from the top of a ridge. A mysterious figure has been photographed on the top of a ridge, and some people reckon it might be Bigfoot watching people. The creepy images were shared to the Bigfoot Believers Facebook group by Greg Skivoli, who explained they were taken in Zion National Park, Utah, U.S. He explained the pictures were taken about 30 seconds apart from a couple of different angles. Greg also shared an overheard shot of the exact spot he was sitting. Excuse me. There's no huge natural formation in that exact spot, Greg added in the post. Two images are zoomed out and show the ridgeline. In one, there is a strange black figure, where in the other, there is not. One zoomed-in image shows a small black mass peering over the ridge, where in another, the full figure is visible. I'm just going to show you the fucking pictures, Katie, so that you can see them. Because I think that's the best way to do this as you eat your dinner.
I'm done now.
What the? Why do they do this to me? They put an ad right
know.
over the damn thing. Stop it.
Well, I think I've seen this. Is this new, or is this rehash new?
I don't know if it's rehashed news. It's new they posted it in the past week.
Okay.
So that is that. That's the up close. And there, up here is the ridge without the figure on it. And if you look up here, it's right here. I think it's in the like a precarious spot, and that's why it seems so
weird.
odd. Yeah. It seems very, very odd. So there, like I said, there's a spot without. 30 seconds
there was
later.
More than one picture? Oh, it's those two pictures.
Mm-hmm. This one is 30 seconds later. It may have been a video and it's just 30 seconds. I don't know.
Oh, he said they were pictures taken
Just
30.
still pictures? Okay.
Yeah. And I think he did say from different angles. So he must have been walking in those 30 seconds.
Could have been, yeah. But yeah, that's interesting. Some interesting shit. Or it could be just some dummy up there.
Yeah, go back to that down one to the zoom when they zoomed in on it. So pixelated.
Yeah.
Huh.
Really could be anything. You know, it's not really definable.
The human mind wants to create like a head and arms, and it kind of looks like a
it is a
turtle.
figure. It is a figure of some kind.
Yeah, but it's also so pixelated
because it's not there. So it's some type of thing moving. There, it's not there, and then 30 seconds later, it's there.
See, but I can't help but think, well, maybe somebody doctored it and they're just putting it out there. But that's stupid. You can always think that. So,
right,
about any picture.
Correct. Some interesting shit, Katie.
It's definitely interesting with the context to it, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting stuff. I don't know. I don't have an answer anymore. I don't have answers to these questions. I have questions for these questions. That's not a very good way to be, I don't think. I should have answers.
Everything is good.
I should have answers. But I don't. I have more questions.
That's not a bad thing.
Yeah. I wish we could get answers.
True.
Although we do sometimes. When Phil Polling's on the job and he looks at the volcano video and the UFO disappearing plane video, those two things we had an answer.
That's true.
CGI and Starlink.
I feel like those two are often the answer.
Yeah, oh yeah. CGI. And you're going to find with deep fakes and stuff, it's only going to get worse, Katie.
Oh, yeah. It's scary what can be done these days.
It's only going to get worse.
It's already getting worse.
I agree.
Did you hear that horror story of some poor mother who got a call from her teenage daughter saying she was being held and needed help and da-da-da-da-da. And the lady was smart enough to get a hold of her family and get a hold of the daughter by another way. And it wasn't her, but the way AI got a hold of a couple words of this young girl's voice, created the technology to mimic it, and then called her mother with it. Like, it's just so fucked.
Wow.
How horrifying. I mean, thank God the girl was okay.
Right.
There's no real danger, but could you imagine getting a phone call like that?
No. No, it's horrifying. It's not something I want to think about.
It's a thing now.
Really? That's awesome. It's good times, I guess. Ugh. So I don't know. That's the news of the strange for this week, folks. Not very hopping. Not a lot of flair this week. Sorry.
That's
It's
okay.
just, it's just not a poppin' week for cryptids, UFOs, the strange. I don't know what happens with these things. Maybe they go on vacation. Maybe cryptids are like old people. They go on vacation at the end of summer when all the families and kids aren't on vacation.
Could be.
Maybe Bigfoot, Mothman, the Loch Ness Monster. Maybe that's why they didn't find them when they went on their hunt for 2 days. Because Nessie is on vacay. Nessie's on a cruise. Why Nessie would need to take a cruise, I don't know. But maybe said cryptids all get together, hang out.
Play poker.
It's possible. I have a picture of it.
Yeah.
I have two, actually. Two different variations of the same
The one is behind you right
image.
now, yeah.
It is. So yeah, maybe they'll find Champ, Katie.
I don't
Maybe.
think so. I'm usually so positive. I don't know why I'm so
What's the over/under on them find a Champ?
it's not good.
No,
No.
I don't think so either.
I'm surprised there's no lake monster in the Great Lakes. How those lakes are so big and there's no big giant creature that like
I'll bet
lives
you there's. I'll bet you there's something. There's
There's
some type
gotta
of
be.
There's got to be a legend of some type there. I just haven't heard of it.
I feel like especially it's such massive. I mean, several states border.
Oh
These
yeah.
lakes are huge. I mean, it looks like the ocean when you go there. It's like
Oh, it's
there's
insane.
got to be something big living out there. But
It's
you look up
insane.
what fish are in there, and it's like pike and like normal ass lake fish. Like
Yeah.
we got no big giant creatures. Some catfish, maybe.
I wonder if there's something in there. Could be. The water is a cool place.
Sure is.
It's a very vast place. Big bodies of water. Strange things can live there. You know? You get amphibious things. Things that can go on land and water.
Lots of those.
You get it? Well, are we gonna go aquatic ape theory tonight, Katie?
Ooh.
Aquatic apes in the fucking Great Lakes.
In,
That would be
in the
crazy.
Great Lakes, it's a little cold there for that, I think.
Maybe they're adapted.
Maybe that's true. Could be.
You never know.
Because the forest around the Great Lakes is very dense, so
Some crazy area.
yeah.
Could be. All right, let's take our quick break, and when we come back, we will dive into 3 missing 411s. We got Stacey Harris.
Jim McGrogan?
Jim McGrogan and Lewis.
Yeah.
Yeah, something Lewis. Anyway. Until then, here is some night driving for your listening pleasure. And when we return, we'll get into those missing person cases. So enjoy, and we'll see you in a few. we are back. Good old night driving.
It's great.
Good old night driving. Alright, let me grab my stuff for tonight, Katie. And grab this stuff so that I'd have stuff to go over on these cases. Eric Lewis was the other guy. Eric Lewis. So did you wind up watching the videos? I'd watched the videos on these before, so I did. I mean, I could have gone back over and watched the videos to get reacquainted with the stories themselves, but I didn't do that.
I did. When I went to go search for them, I had watched the videos before, but I didn't have any specific memory. But I could see that, like, oh, I've watched this before. But I did rewatch the main videos, and then he actually did a podcast on each one of them, too. Mm-hmm. So I listened to all of those for all three.
Yeah. I had seen the Lore Lodge's version of these disappearances, and I think I watched.
That's who I was talking about for the show and the podcast.
I think I had watched somebody else's as well, but I didn't. I don't remember who it was. I don't remember if it was Missing Enigma.
There's a lot of channels
these are YouTube channels, by the way, everybody. And I'm actually pulling my information tonight is coming from different websites, which I'm crediting as we go. But the first one that we'll look at tonight is the disappearance of Eric Lewis on Mount Rainier in Washington State. I've been to Mount Rainier. It's fucking beautiful, by the way.
That's cool.
It is absolutely gorgeous. If you get a chance to go out there, I definitely recommend it. It's just, it's amazing. So I recommend that. Eric Lewis disappeared July 1st, 2010 in Mount Rainier National Park, Washington State. He was 57 from Duvall, Washington. He was reported missing near the top of Mount Rainier. Oh, by the way, this is from strangeoutdoors.com. Mysterious /stories/blog/Eric/Lewis. I'll put these links below the show after the show so that everybody can check out these news stories if they want to themselves and look into it more in depth. Was reported missing near the top of Mount Rainier while mountain climbing on Thursday, July 1st, 2010. He disappeared when his climbing companions discovered that he had unclipped from the climbing rope and disappeared, leaving them to pull up a coil with a butterfly knot. Eric had vanished, and after a large search, only his pack showed up in a snow cave. His body has not been found in 10 years. Was Eric spooked by something or someone? Did his companions kill him, or did his gear just fail? What happened on Mount Rainier in the summer of 2010? What did happen on Mount Rainier in the summer of 2010? Mount Rainier, also known as Tahoma or Tacoma Peak, is 14,411 feet high, and it is located in Washington, about 59 miles southeast of Seattle. It is a large, active stratovolcano in the Cascade Range of the Pacific Northwest. Mount Rainier is considered one of the most dangerous volcanoes in the world. Wow.
Yeah, it's due to erupt.
Wow. I did not know that. The climb on Gibraltar Ledges and the Eric Lewis disappearance. Eric vanished when he became inexplicably separated from his two climbing companions when the three-man team was ascending the Gibraltar Ledges route on Mount Rainier and encountered high winds and low visibility. The Gibraltar Ledges was the first route to the summit of Mount Rainier. This route was climbed by Hazard Stevens and Philemon Beecher Van Trump in 1870 and is now considered the standard winter route on the mountain. The climber in the lead on the ledges route, Don Storm Jr., stopped and was joined by the second climber on the rope, Trevor Lane. At 13,900 feet, as they waited for Eric to join them, they discovered only a coil with a butterfly knot when they pulled the rope in. They had caught glimpses of him on the rope just moments before and immediately searched the slope below them. After a thorough search of the area, they proceeded to the summit ridge in case Eric had somehow skirted around them while they searched below. When he was not found on the summit ridge, they then returned to Camp Muir, the climbing high camp at 10,200 feet, and reported the incident to rangers. A team of climbers searched the Nisqually Icefall and Gibraltar Chute areas, and a Chinook helicopter flew climbing areas where Eric could have ended up. Climbing ranger Tom Payne and 2 mountain guides climbed to the summit looking for Eric, late on the day of his disappearance. The day after, the search expanded with more than 40 people involved. Ground searches included National Park Service climbing rangers, climbing guides from Mount Rainier Mountaineering Inc., and Alpine Ascents International, and volunteers from the Olympic Mountain Rescue. Yeah, they searched and searched and searched for that motherfucker.
And they got there really fast, too.
Yeah, and even the 2 guys that were with him, that when they went down to look for him, and it's not in this particular article, but they looked everywhere that rope could reach. Every single spot that rope could reach, they searched before they went up to the summit. They really, I mean, supposedly. Right. Unless they were somehow involved in his disappearance, which, according to the people involved, they don't seem to be.
Yeah, that's not the way any theories lean. Right. Everything is pretty much working on the assumption that everything these guys are saying is true and nothing nefarious happened.
Right.
As far as like they're doing.
So what happened to Eric Lewis? Fellow climbers Don Storm and Trevor Land searched thoroughly for Eric and retraced their movements, according to their accounts anyway. Perhaps they intentionally cut his rope. Blah, blah, blah. And, there are those theories, but those aren't the prevailing theories.
Yeah.
Joe Simpson, in his book and later film Touching the Void, wrote on how his climbing companion Simon Yates cut his rope during a climb on the west face of Ciula Grande in the Huish mountain range. I don't know if I pronounced that right. In the Peruvian Andes in 1985. On the descent, an accident resulted in Simpson falling over a cliff while roped to Yates, who was forced to cut the rope to avoid both climbers falling. Simpson survived after crawling out of a snow cave with broken bones and unable to work. It was a miraculous escape from death in the Andes. The ground was covered in snow, so following Eric's footsteps should have been easy, but he left no footprints besides the ones following his companions. Nowhere did they find signs that he broke off from the group. His climbing gear was found by searchers in an ice cave 200 feet below where he went missing. Despite the large search, Eric Lewis was never found on Mount Rainier. Why did Eric Lewis cut himself from the rope? What was it? What do you think, Katie?
Well, the backpack was one detail that I think was a point of contention in that David Paulides is the single only source that says that the backpack was found in the cave.
Right.
Everyone else from the story says that it was found 200 feet from below, but not in the cave.
Right.
And I'm hung up on the cave because, okay, so let's pretend it was found in the cave. Okay, right. Well, what else did you find in the cave? Were there signs that he spent any time in there? Is there like a butt print in the snow from him sitting down? Like, no one mentions anything else about the cave. Like, did he lay down in there? Did he hang out in there? if he spent any amount of time, there's going to be some sort of trace that says he was there.
Or did the pack just fall down 200 feet?
Right.
You know, like,
everybody talks about this cave, and they even say, like, well, he could have gone in there and rested. But then why don't we hear about, like, evidence of that?
And why? Here's my other question. Why are there no footprints?
Right. Footprints.
It was the snow. There should have been footprints with the snow.
Yeah.
You know, it's very weird to me that this guy just disappeared, vanished.
Mm-hmm.
His backpack's 200 feet below. There's no footprints besides the ones that he initially put in the snow coming up. And there's no trace of him.
Yeah.
Where the fuck did he go?
This is one where he did seemingly just fucking vanish.
Yeah. Like, and maybe there's a mundane explanation. You know, maybe the wind came and caught that motherfucker and sailed him. You know, I guess it's possible.
But then they never found his body. After all these years, there's been other bodies found. Other people have gone missing, and they've done searches in the same area.
Yeah.
Over decades now. And we still haven't found, like...
I agree with you, Katie. It's very weird.
There is perma-snow up there, though, so, like, I get it's complicated. I don't know, though. It is super weird.
It is.
The only other thing that caught my ear listening to it was that somebody said something about the only thing that makes sense is that he was never on the mountain at all.
Oh, that he never made the climb.
Yeah, like, but that would have to assume that these two guys
were doing something nefarious
and reported a guy missing to the Park Service who
never went on their trip.
So they would have to be like complicit in him. What is he trying to like fake his death and go live a new life somewhere? But there's no context really to his life other than this story. Like nobody's really dove deep on his deepest, darkest secrets. So
right. Who knows?
I just thought that was interesting. Of like, because it does seem that way. Of like, are we sure this dude was even up here to begin with? Because there's no trace of footprints leading in any direction. And they checked at the bottom of all the cliffs that he could have fallen off of. So it's a weird one.
Yeah, it's a strange one. It's a strange one. I mean, I think there very well could possibly be a mundane explanation for this. I'm not saying that this is a supernatural occurrence. I'm saying it's mighty odd. I will say that. It's mighty odd. Now, whether that mighty odd is because there was a nefarious situation involved or some type of supernatural event, I don't know. Or maybe it was a natural event that just is like a 1 in a million.
Right. Because the only other obvious answer, I think, before you leap to paranormal, would be he unhooked himself from that rope and went and found a crevice to go die in. Like, and
but why are there no footprints?
I know. They did say it was low visibility, so it was like actively snowing.
Yeah, but they'd have seen footprints.
I know.
Especially if it was snowing, they'd have seen footprints.
Yeah. Well, like, they did find a few footprints, but they didn't. They made sense with the route they were on. It wasn't anything.
Right. Nothing went away from the area that they were traveling to.
Right.
So, yeah, to me, it's a very odd one. Like I said, could very well have a mundane explanation, and I'll be completely willing to accept a mundane explanation if it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I think this case looks very fucking odd.
Yeah.
Do I think that it, warrants the 411 moniker or the, do I think any of them deserve the 411 moniker at this point? I don't even know about that.
Just a branding of missing people.
Right.
It's weird.
I'll say this. I've said this before. I will say it again. I don't have a personal vendetta against David Paulides, or whatever the fuck his name is. I don't know. If he wants to come on the show and tell me how to pronounce it, I'll be more than happy to pronounce it the correct way. I don't have a fucking bone to pick with the man. However, I do have a bone to pick with him about leaving certain information out of these documentaries that I think is pertinent to the situation. As was in the case of Tom Messick and Aaron Hedges. I think both of those cases had information that was left out of the documentary that could have very well shed some light on what happened.
Right. They were very clearly purposely left out. But I think he also adds things once in a while, too, that's a little unnecessary. Or he makes little twists that are completely, like, unverified. Like this backpack thing in this story. He's literally the only one. And he mentions one of the family members, or maybe it was one of the guys that was there, or the searcher, or somebody in the story told him that. But that guy has publicly spoken about it and did not say that it was in the cave. So it's just a little suspicious. Like, why you gotta link those two things together when they never were? But that's why I get hung up on it too, is why aren't more people asking questions about this cave? People put it in their theories. They're like, well, he could have gone down there and sought refuge. Okay, great. Let's talk about that. But nobody does.
Right. Did we really search the cave?
Right.
I don't know. Yeah, like I said, it's a strange one. I don't know that it's a supernatural account. I know that it's, as you look at the story, it looks odd.
Very.
But does that warrant supernatural? No. Maybe. I mean, that is a plausible theory.
Yeah.
But is it the only theory? No. It very well could be something mundane, something that happened to this man. Someday we may find out, and when we do, it may just be like, oh, okay, that's what happened. Ta-da! Yeah. So.
Yeah, I'm not a paranormal leaning person, but I could totally see how this case kind of could be a candidate.
Yeah. Our next one is not as crazy weird. It is kind of, in a sense, but... and there are a lot of theories about this girl and whether or not she was abducted by Bigfoot, by the way. Like, there are a lot of theories about that. So, that being the case, we will get into the story of Stacy and Aris. And I got this one from ranker.com. Like I said, I will put these links below the video so that you guys can check these out if you want on your own. Stacy Ann Aris was only 14 years old when she vanished without a trace inside Yosemite National Park in 1981. To this day, her disappearance remains unsolved. Though Yosemite National Park has been the site of other people's going missing and creepy occurrences, Aris' case is especially eerie given the startling lack of evidence. Due to the mysterious circumstances surrounding the event, some people believe there are supernatural forces at play. And while there is probably a scientific or rational explanation for what happened to Stacy Ann Aris on July 17, 1981, the reality of her departure remains as haunting as any paranormal mystery. Stacy was not alone. She was traveling with 6 other people and her father. They were on horseback. They were headed to Sunrise High Sierra Camp, and before Aris wandered off to take photographs of the nearby lake, which I guess is actually a weird thing, Katie. I don't know if you looked into this at all, but a lot of people have said that there would have been no lake at the time.
No, I think there was a couple different. There was one lake that was too far away to be the right lake, But there was a small chain of lakes that was a mile away.
Okay.
That's
Um,
that's what I. But all I did was
so
watch those 2 videos. So
so while the group was resting, Aris told her father she wanted to hike down and take pictures of a nearby lake. Her father declined to join her. When Aris left her companions, the tour guide recalled seeing her standing on a rock 50 yards south of the trail. The trail to the lake was only 1.5 miles long. That is the last time anyone officially reported seeing Aris. There was a 77-year-old guy that left with her before she disappeared. He had sat down to rest before she had even gotten to that rock. I guess. That's what I take out of this whole thing. The way I look at the timeline of events, they left together. He stopped to rest at a point before she got to this rock. She is seen by the tour guide on top of this rock taking pictures, and that's the last anyone sees of her.
yeah.
When she didn't return, the 77-year-old, got up to look for her, and the remainder of the group looked more extensively. He later reported that he'd spoken with a group of hikers, but they hadn't seen her. Witnesses say they saw the man sitting down as Aris wandered off. There's no evidence that implicated him in any wrongdoing. Despite the search beginning only minutes after Aris vanished, no one found any trace of the 14-year-old girl except for the lens from her camera. It was found inside the grove of trees Aris entered before presumably photographing the lake. Aris reportedly had several other items on her person. She was wearing an ankle bracelet and possibly stud earrings, as well as carrying binoculars and her camera. None of these items ever turned up. One experienced climber noted on a forum that if Aris had lost her lens cap, it shouldn't necessarily be considered a sign of foul play, since the caps are easy to lose. Aris's group began searching for the girl not long after she disappeared, and rescue crews invested extensive efforts to find her. It's all the more bizarre that she has not been found. By some reports, up to 150 people looked for the teen, which includes roughly 67 Mountain Rescue Association volunteers, dogs, and helicopters, all canvassing a 3 to 5 square mile area around Sunrise Lake. Despite this, the camera lens is the only clue. Dogs were unable to pick up any scents. Let's see. She left the group and was exploring alone off trail, which is very dangerous if you aren't carrying navigation tools and experienced in using them. She was also likely distracted, paying more attention to photography than to navigation. The search was fairly small relative to the size of the area they had to work with, and it's likely she kept moving even once she realized she was lost, because the majority of people do. But it's also the absolute worst thing to do in almost every case, because then searchers are playing catch-up. A point I see brought up fairly often is that she was within shouting distance, but I don't think there's a way to prove that. Sound in the wilderness is weird. I've spent a ton of time hiding from searchers as a training subject, and even I'm still sometimes surprised at how variable sound can be. Yeah, I guess I could see that. Some of the accepted details in the case may be inaccurate. Search and rescue volunteers and outdoor enthusiasts who have researched Aris's case seem to agree that some reports were possibly inaccurate in the first place. The official description of where she went missing makes no sense. Purportedly, the group arrived at the Sunrise HSC where they planned to stay in some of the cabins. We are told Stacy left to photograph the lake in which was in sight of the cabins. There is no lake in sight of the camp. It would have been a very long hike to reach a lake, so that discrepancy is odd. That fact changes things a lot. If she really set out to photograph the lake, then there was a lot of distance and space that could have been accounted for her disappearance. There are many crevices and spots where she could have possibly fallen, and crevices can conceal anything. However, not knowing where she went makes it difficult to guess. Even articles from normally reputable sources get a lot of details wrong in many wilderness disappearance cases from what I've seen. This is from a Redditor. I think it's just because the reporters likely don't have a frame of reference, and it's just a quick blip, not a Pulitzer contender, so they skimp on the research, but sometimes it can be shockingly inaccurate. And the National Park Service doesn't keep track of disappearances.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
Somebody
and
should be.
It goes into how Paulides has it in the 411 series, and he thinks there might be something paranormal, blah 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 blah. But I don't know. It seems like a weird one. She was, for being 14 years old. I've heard that she was, you know, she was good in the outdoors. She had been, you know, she knew how to handle a horse, but she had gotten off the horse at some point. The fact is that she just fucking vanished.
Yeah.
You know, and they looked for her, like, right away. It wasn't like that, you know, she vanished and then they were like, oh, wait a minute, she's, like, missing. Like, maybe we'll wait and see if she comes back to camp.
Right.
They went looking for her.
Yeah. Well, and because that old man is another one of those discrepancies, because he actually, when people go and really look at all of the information that's out there to the public, you know, and not state records or whatever, he's never actually named. And he's actually referenced as being like 70 to 79 years old or something. Or in one place he's called 72, and in another place he's 77. And so, and he's never been named, so we really don't actually know anything about him. But
that's kind of odd.
Everything about the story does also lean towards this guy was being honest, and he didn't do anything. He isn't the one responsible, unless he was a secret trafficker or something and had somebody hiding in the woods and served her up.
Right.
That would be the only possibility for him. But it's a weird one for sure.
Yeah.
Like, but there is like no evidence too. So
no, there's nothing.
Nothing to go on.
Like, you think that something would have shown up.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, even in the Tom Messick case, which I think is probably a lot more mundane than we think.
Yeah.
You'd think that something of his would have shown up by now.
Yeah, there's so many of them like that.
You know? It's like they had so much shit on them. You'd think something of it would have shown up by now. But again, some people find shit out in the woods and they think nothing of it too.
Yeah.
Like, I've found stuff out in the woods before and just been like, oh, somebody left something out here.
Right.
You know? Like, I didn't, you know, call the police and say, hey, this is weird.
Right.
You know? So, who knows? You know, maybe we need more busybodies in the world.
Well, and that's the thing too, is these stories happen in the middle of the woods, and finding someone and their belongings in the middle of the woods is a lot different than finding someone and their belongings in a neighborhood or a city.
Right. But I mean, if you just find like an article of something.
Yeah.
You know, or
just on our hike this weekend, there was a small children's cowboy boot, a little girl's cowboy boot, just randomly sitting next to a tree. Like,
oh, interesting.
That's weird. Some little kid lost their boot. But yeah, no, we didn't notify the park service.
Right. Hey, there's a children's boot.
Actually,
you guys might want to check this out.
A boot, a flip flop, and a sock, all separate down there. Like, a lot of people are losing their
and then
footwear.
Some blood. And then you heard the screams of a little child, and you and Joe were like, "Nothing to see here. We just want to get back to the car."
Right.
Yeah, I know how that goes.
Yeah, that would be creepy. No cell phone service out there either, too.
Please don't involve me. I don't want anything to do with this.
We'll leave.
I didn't see anything. Anywho, our last one for tonight is James McGrogan. December 3rd, 2017. This one's also from, I think the first one was from Strange Outdoors. This one is as well. The mysterious disappearance and death of Dr. James McGrogan in Colorado. Mountain Deaths, Vail, Colorado, Montana. James McGrogan, strange deaths. James McGrogan disappeared March 14th, 2014. Body found April 13th, 2014. Booth Falls, Vail, Colorado. Jim McGrogan was visiting Vail in March 2014, a small town at the base of Vail Mountain in the center of the huge ski resort set within the White River National Forest in Colorado. During the trip, he became separated from his group on a hike, and his body was found a few weeks later. Just misadventure, bad luck, or something else? Excuse me. Dr. James McGrogan had recently returned to Indiana. See? Indiana. Running theme, Katie. From Wisconsin to work in the emergency room of St. Joseph's Regional Medical Center in Mishawaka. James McGrogan, Vail, Colorado death. The hike to the Eisman Hut in Camp Hale on the morning of March 14th, 2014 at about 8:30 a.m. Jim and 3 hiking companions left on the 9-mile hike to the Eisman Hut and beyond to Camp Hale. The camp is a collection of huts deep in the mountains to serve as temporary shelters for hikers or campers. The site was originally built in the 1940s as the home of the 10th Mountain Division and a mountain warfare training area. At the time, there was a lot of snow in the area, several feet deep in some areas. There are 2 main routes from the Vail area to the Eisman Hut. One via Spraddle Creek and a more westerly route via Red Sandstone Creek. It is not clear which route the group took that day, but both were used heavily and were well marked with compacted snow. Although the hut was only 4 miles from the group's starting point and right near U.S. Interstate 70, the hike itself was up a meandering 9-mile trail through steep and treacherous wooded terrain, and the hut is not considered easy to reach. One of the reasons it is such a popular target for hikers. Although it was to be a challenging hike, McGrogan and company were experienced with the outdoors and well prepared. McGrogan himself carried with him a cell phone, basic medical supplies, a sleeping bag, avalanche beacon, GPS, warm clothing, and plenty of food and water. Ugh. Dr. McGrogan begins to hike alone. At about 10 a.m., with the hikers still about 5 miles from the hut, the group stopped to rest. According to his companions, Jim decided to hike on ahead of the party, and they expected to catch up with him along the way. After Jim left the others behind to hike on alone, he vanished. When the rest of the group reached the Eisman Hut, it was late afternoon on March 14th, and there was no sign at all of McGrogan. He was never seen alive again. By 5:30 p.m., the hikers had notified the Vail Department of Public Safety and subsequently the Eagle Valley Sheriff's Department. A rescue operation was started over an 18-square-mile area. McGrogan was well equipped, so the authorities were not too concerned. McGrogan's cell phone pinged once the day he went missing, but after that it went dead. Over the next 3 days, teams of searchers on foot, snowmobile, and 3 helicopters from the National Guard's high-altitude aviation training site based in nearby Gypsum, Colorado, searched the area, but by Tuesday, March 18th, bad weather forced the search to be suspended. Crews had spent a combined 1,000 hours searching for McGrogan. A 5-day search failed to find any sign of him despite snow in the area, which would have indicated if someone was hiking or skiing off trail. 20 days later, McGrogan's body was found by a group of backcountry skiers about 4.5 miles from the trail on April 3, 2014, near the Booth Falls area, way to the east of Eisman Hut. The reporting party told authorities that he and 2 others were skiing the Booth Falls area when they located the dead body in an ice fall below Booth Falls, laying on top of an ice sheet. An ice fall is a frozen waterfall which flows down a steep slope. He was found wearing his helmet, no coat, no gloves, and very strangely with no boots. In his backpack, his cell phone was discovered, and in this area there appeared to be active cellular reception. Jim's snowboard was also found nearby, but his boots were never located. The coroner said that James McGrogan died of multiple injuries, including head trauma to the left side and to the left side of his chest and a broken femur. His death was ruled an accident. What happened to Jim McGrogan on March 14th, 2014, Katie? What happened? He hiked 12 to 14 miles across the backcountry in deep snow, up to 8 feet in places, and apparently lost his boots. Perhaps he succumbed to hypothermia and began to paradoxically undress. Why didn't he use his cell phone or GPS tracker, both of which were fully functional? Why did he become separated from his hiking group and decide to leave on his own for Eisman Hut? A very mysterious case. What do you think?
Other than him missing his boots, this is your quintessential run-of-the-mill missing person on a mountain.
Yeah.
If it were not for the missing boots, no one would really think anything too weird about this. Really.
Right. But he wasn't like he didn't have any of his other clothing off. He still had his backpack on and all that bullshit, right?
He had his jacket was off. There was a couple of other articles of clothing that were off.
But he didn't have all of his like shirts and stuff off, right?
No, he wasn't completely disrobed, but he was partially disrobed.
Right, partially. Okay.
Yeah.
So he may have begun.
Right, which if he did fall and get injured with a traumatic injury, that would make hypothermia set in a lot faster than if you were just out in the elements trying to find your way.
Mm-hmm.
But the detail in this story that hangs me up is the wife. He had been planning this trip with his friends for quite some time. His wife didn't know about it until a week before they left. Now, she didn't think too much of it. She wasn't suspicious of that. And she wasn't mad that he was going.
Mm-hmm.
He just made all these plans without her knowing. And the reason that's weird to me is they were a pretty typical suburban family. They had young kids. They had an active life together.
Right.
What husband just goes and plans a trip and doesn't even mention it to his wife and make sure, hey, are you going to be good with the kids while I'm gone? Or
Right.
A week before? And all of his friends were like, oh, yeah, we knew about the trip. Well, why the fuck doesn't your wife know?
Right.
And I say that because they seem like normal people. I mean, they seem to have a very healthy, normal family. So it's very bizarre that it's almost even bizarre that the wife didn't think that was weird. But that makes me think it's possible that he threw himself off that ice fall. And that's why he didn't use his phone. And maybe he hid his boots because he wanted to add an element of mystery so that his family didn't know he offed himself.
There could be an element of suicide in this one.
It's a possibility. I'm not convinced, but it's definitely on the table. This
is one where people have made the assumption that he fell out of the sky. Like, there's that whole theory that he was taken. There's one of those theories.
Thunderbird.
Or that he, UFO. He was dropped out of the sky, whatever. But I don't know. Again, this is one probably completely mundane explanation, just completely odd. The oddest one of the night is probably Eric Lewis, if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, I would agree.
Out of the three, Eric Lewis makes me scratch my head the most.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The Stacey Aris and Jim, what is it? I forget his name. McGrogan. Not as much. Still very odd. Still very fucking strange disappearances, but not to the extent that where I look at the Eric Lewis case and go, huh?
Right. Well, but you're also dealing with the same thing of we're relying on a lot of these facts.
Right.
From the people he was alone on the mountain with.
Right. What do we really know? What's really known?
Mm-hmm.
That's something that you gotta. That's something that you have to take into account when you look at jury trials. You look at these people and you're like, how could you have let this guy go? Right. And you just go, dumbass. We had to go on the evidence.
Yeah. And in this McGrogan case, I don't think those guys could have, because he was found 4 miles away. I don't think those guys could have covered that kind of ground and been back to the hut when they did get there.
Right.
So I don't think they were involved, but it's still one of those things where we're like counting facts as facts when they're really hearsay, and eyewitness testimony is notoriously unreliable. So
yeah, I think this is probably, like I said, it's probably another one where it's probably completely mundane. Completely. It seems odd to look at. You know, and it is kind of strange. What happened to the dude?
mm-hmm.
Why? You know, if he did off himself, why? You know, if he didn't, what happened to him?
Right.
You know, why didn't he use his cell phone? Why didn't he use his GPS? Both were functioning normally.
Right.
What?
It's crazy though. People disappearing, especially like up on mountains, happens way more often than I think we think it does.
Yeah.
I know somebody from my hometown that had moved out to Colorado and was living out there and disappeared, gone. He had gone hiking on a mountain and he really didn't tell anybody that's what he was doing. It was something he did often, but he really didn't tell anybody. Only a few people that weren't very close to him knew that's what he did. And bad weather came in and they ended the season without ever finding him. And I don't think they ever still have, but like, it's not a mystery. They know he's up there. He's up there somewhere. But that sort of thing happens all the time. And in a few years, somebody will stumble across him. It's just happens a lot.
There's a long time ago, I wanted to do the Appalachian Trail by myself. At one point in time, I had wanted to hike the whole thing by myself. I don't anymore.
It's a big adventure.
Well, yeah, and it's something that I had really wanted to do, but I got to a point where I was like, you know what? No, I'm good. Like, I can go on hikes, yeah, sure, that's fine. But to do the whole thing, I don't think I want to anymore. I just, there's too many variables. And I especially don't want to do it on my own, by myself. If I was to do it, I'd want to do it with someone.
Yes, for sure.
You know, but, like, if my son had ever wanted to do it, I'd be like, all right, right on, let's go.
Right.
I hope you're paying my salary for the summer. But I just would not do it alone at this point.
Well, there's a lot of missing people from the Appalachian Trail too, and even there's several murders that have gone on.
Yeah.
With hikers hiking the Appalachian Trail. So
there's just weird shit that goes on. But there are hundreds and hundreds of people that do it every year.
Yep.
And they're fine.
Yep.
You know, so I suppose it's like with anything else. You take a certain amount of risk with anything in this life. I just know I don't want to do it by myself anymore.
Yeah.
If I was to ever do it, I would do it. It would be with someone. But I don't even know that anymore. I don't know. I just don't know.
I'm not the camping type. I would never do that.
Oh, I think I would like to disconnect from society for a while. I'd have to have my Kindle, which means I'd have to have some type of solar...
Right. Satellite, something.
Well, no, just a solar
a charger.
Because I could download all the books.
That's true.
That I wanted to read. But I would have to have that with me. Other than that, everything else I could give up for that amount of time.
I'm not crapping in the woods. That's where I draw the line. Not doing it.
Good times.
I'm
great
a day
oldies.
hiker.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, good times. All right, on that note, we'll wrap this thing up tonight. Folks, be good to one another out there. And if you are watching us on the podcast or on Twitter, you can go over to YouTube, youtube.com/@the Fortean Files. That's the @ symbol, TheForteanFiles. Subscribe to the podcast. You can join in the live chat. We do pay attention to the live chat while we are doing the show. And you can follow us over on X or Twitter, whatever the fuck we want to call it now. Are we finally calling it X, or are we still saying X, formerly known as Twitter?
I say it's still Twitter, but I say that as someone who doesn't even use it, so I guess
Right.
my vote doesn't count.
All right. We're at Fortean Files over there. And you can subscribe to the podcast over at Spotify. And download the fucking podcast. Show us some support over there. Give us some love, people. And until next week, like I said, be good to one another out there. It's a strange, weird, wild world where old men are stammering, falling down, stopping talking, refusing to step down in light of the fact that they are probably shitting their pants as they sit there on live TV with us. And that goes for both Republicans and Democrats. Stop shitting your pants on national TV in front of the American people. Your constituents would prefer you to smell like roses, not an outhouse. See you next Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, people. Bye.